optimize that process, we tune it. And we tune it by looking at the missing harmonics and replacing the cascade. I want to tell you about a couple things that relate to this. Here, we're actually measuring this in trees and plants. We can measure the capacitance of a tree before and after it's been affected with love. See if I have some of those. Yeah, here we are. The same device before and after someone hugs a tree. Now we're measuring the tree, not the person hugging it, but we could measure both. The harmonic cascade of the capacitive field is cohered, and that onset of coherence is the presence of love. So the embedding, the emotional wind that steers the magnetism into centering force, can measure the life force in a tree similarly. I'd like to describe to you this principle as it applies to attention deficit and addiction healing. And we may just end with this little piece tonight. But just a little hint here. We just set up a clinic in Netherlands for attention deficit and addiction. The web article is Trance and Dance. All the web articles here are soulinvitation.com, soulinvitation.com/ and then a keyword, in this case, trance and dance. So all we're saying here is that 70% sustained success in curing addiction and attention deficit and neurofeedback is well documented in America. The child sees a simple Pac-Man game here. The therapist looks for missing harmonics, and the child plays Pac-Man, and when the missing harmonic is replaced, the attention deficit and addiction go away. This is how you make your own fire. What you're doing is you're replacing the missing harmonic again, just what we talked about. Well, the present hardware that does this is very effective, EEGspectrum.com. The problem is it costs $14,000. The HeartTuner, which costs about $1,000 US, is now being designed to be able to do this work as well as what you've already seen. And I will show you the beta test software. It's called the Brain Tuner. And what we do there is the therapist, again, sees the power density of the alpha, theta, beta, and determines which harmonic is low in power and sets the filters for the various channels to a critical threshold to provide a positive biofeedback reward when you replace the missing harmonic. And so your movie doesn't move forward unless you're making the missing harmonic in your brain waves. Okay? And then you replace the harmonic content of alpha, theta, delta to balance them and create that cascade. And then you can see the power densities over time and the average coherence over time. The thing that's neat is, now that we can measure coherence directly, we can make this whole process a lot more elegant. But do you see what this is? I just want you to understand what human attention is. You can turn up the lights again there. Human attention is the moment at which you become an attractor for charge. So when you do this, it takes 2 to 4 sessions a week for 5 to 10 weeks. On the day that the alcohol or drug addict learns to replace the missing frequency, often alpha, euphoric eidetic, on that day, his next drink of beer will make him feel sick because the body now rejects what had been functioning as a substitute for bliss. Okay? So this is an idea of how we turn the concept that addiction was not a mistake by God. The little boy riding a roller coaster gets off, and his eyes are wider than they've ever been before. Says, "Mom, I want to do that again." Right? That's not addiction. That's biology saying, "I need charge density." Right? Are the people here familiar with the geometry of eternality? So that if you want to look at how to die, and you went to the literature, it's well documented that when you die, you lose 4 to 8 ounces of weight, right? And where does that weight go? It goes through the center of a pineapple, pine cone, pineal. Thanks to Alex Gray for this. And so at the moment of death, what happens if you actually, it's called taking your memories into the inner world requires a simple map based on superposed spins. And in this project called the Cartography of Consciousness, Heinrich Kluwe went to hundreds of near-death experiencers and asked them, what did you see? Because I would like a map of what I'm going to see when I die, so I can steer. And so they drew a map. First I saw a lattice, then I saw a cobweb, then I saw a tunnel, then I saw a spiral. In answer to your question, the universe is continually trying to come to a point. Have you made your point yet? Yeah? Very pointed remark. So here is a lattice, a cobweb, a tunnel, a spiral. You take a vortex array and you can make a lattice, a cube. You nest the cube in the dodeca, you have a cobweb. You ratchet the cobweb down a helix, you have a slinky, a tunnel. You bring the tunnel to a big point, and then you have a spiral. And then you can nest that donut, and you go round and around. And each time, all you're doing is adding an axis of spin symmetry. And that's called going to the next dimension. And it's literally a map of how to die. By creating a center point in the next smaller geometry, you create a symmetry with respect to the next bigger axis. So the point is, the idea here is that this ability to make a still point in the field effect you're in enables you to reach the next biggest field effect. And I think we'll probably end with this little animation of the origin of the Holy Grail here then. So you remember that in the heart work, we came to the point where we realized that the EKG was creating a harmonic cascade here, spin path to the 0 point, and if you map the electrical origin of the heart's beat, you see this you see a 7-colored donut, and you see the wave turning inside out recursively. So now we can go to the 3D animation and correct the relative size of the magnetic domains which are causing your heart to fire. And if we just animate that, we see the place where the donuts cross here is the top of the concentric interdigitated nested dodecahedron as per this model. And so if I look at the top-down view of that, I'm seeing the spin path down into those dodeca ecosa, which is 10 spirals of the golden mean, top-down view of DNA, Earth grid, and zodiac. And if I rotate 32-degree tilt, chin angle of the Sphinx, cube in the dodeca, hex from pent, and now I have the side view of that light cone. So there's an infinite number of these dodeca ecosa in that symmetry, and that each time these two waves cross, they add and multiply their wavelength and velocity. And so what happens is the velocity creates an acceleration. Remember, these 10 spirals are on a cone, right? You see the cone there? It's a 60-degree light cone of implosion. It's the angle of the best capacitor for weather engineering. And if I take that spiral on the cone, which is called the caduceus, spin path to the 0 point we've been talking about all night, and just revolve it, as you've seen, from the side view to the top view, I get the Holy Grail. It's a cup within a cup that has no inside or outside. It solves the problem of separateness. It contains the serpent, the spiral, the Sufi heart with wings, the perfect Valentine, the feminine reproductive organs. And you can zoom in forever and always see the same thing, yeah? And it's a three-dimensional fractal because I could take that spiral and revolve it. Notice you think you're outside, then you're inside, then you're inside out? Yes? And that's the swastika, which was merely a spin path map, right? A compression map. So this is a three-dimensional fractal because I could zoom in forever from any angle of approach as long as I was focused on center and always recursively see the same thing. So this is what happens to DNA in the presence of love. You get this compression algorithm where the map becomes the terrain. Yes? And that's when Arthur and the land are one.